Nivruti Rai, who's MD and CEO Invest India, Minister of Commerce and Industry, speaks on the 4 labour laws in this exclusive conversation. Listen in.
Invest in the country as far as that is concerned?
Very good question. You know, the reason it is very relevant for me is not so long back, I was on the side of the investor. I was one of the companies that had invested in India. And I moved to India in the year of, excuse me, 2006. And at the same time, Intel was looking at investing in one of the Asian countries to set up a assembly test manufacturing plant. And the investment was around 1 billion. So I was really excited. But can I tell you, labor laws was one of the primary reason why, we were not the top and Vietnam won the race. Why I'm excited is there are many changes. There are many changes that, the investor is going to love. When you look at the flexibility of working hours, companies like textiles, companies like semiconductors, companies or hospitals, they have to work 24 hours. So shift is very, very critical. Flexibility of work hours is very, very critical. Getting more people in a formalized workforce is very, very critical. Getting a common standardized minimum wage is important. As an industry, as an investor, everything that I just talked about is important. What it does, it makes me plan better long term. It also makes me plan better project-wise. There is a project and I need a fixed-term employee, but I want him or her to perform really well. I don't want him or her to just come and leave. So all of these things, from flexibility perspective, from quality perspective, from planning perspective, from hiring and firing perspectives, has made it tremendously easy for an investor.
Absolutely, ma'am. But many say that this increases compliance burden on companies, and of course, we've seen some protests happen as part of these. How do you really look at that in terms of how are companies looking at the compliance burden? Are they looking at this as something being very responsible on their part to sort of implement?
Oh, absolutely. Companies are actually very excited. Oftentimes, when we speak to investors, they show us, look, this is what ASEAN countries are doing. This is what Japan is doing. This is what China is doing. This journey, and Sumita, later on I'll show you a slide that I really would want you to show, is over the last 10 years, how has India worked on the different aspects? I really like to call it, a trinity of growth. In the trinity of growth, there's an industry which is the driver. There are resources, which is either capital or labor, and then there's an environment. Within this trinity, growth happens if all of them are driving towards a common goal. In the environment, there's tax. In the environment, there is policies, regulations, IP protections, innovations, all of that. So what you will see, that labor is one part of it, and our government has gradually worked on each one of these components that make this trinity that's driving growth, and labor is the critical part.
And you also spoke about labor codes being one of the things that companies are looking at when it comes to investments. There are other things as well, ease of doing business, for example, deregulation of certain laws, and of course, providing capital to startups or new age companies. That is also important. I want to get in your thoughts on how is the government now looking at further improving ease of doing business, given the fact that we're seeing a geopolitical flux all across, right? I mean, companies that are looking at various geographies to invest into, and of course India, while it does have the tag of being a trusted geography, we do lag when it comes to ease of doing business, when it comes to deregulation of certain laws.
Sumita, I have so much to share with you. We'll definitely do another session, but let me start with few brief points. We have analyzed world FDI coming from the world into many countries, and we've looked at how the world FDI, what portion of the world FDI is coming into India. If I just simply plot world FDI and India FDI, there's zero correlation. However, if you look at India alone FDI, it has consistently grown. I see 3 phases of growth, and all driven by the changes that the government is making. Having said that, the analysis that we've done is we believe about 1.5%, some can say 1.3, 1.4, 1.5, but more than 1.5% of unemployment will be reduced. 9 billion consumption will be increased. 6 to 7 million, by the way, 600 million people are employed, and we believe 6 to 7 million more people will come to the workforce. And that is the journey which will make us 41% women to 50% women. I 100% believe that all this is driving improvement in ease of doing business. Now, the ease of doing business ranking is no longer instituted, but, we landed at, some 140 to 60. However, I'm going to give you one more thought. India has been, on an average, giving returns of 15% to investors. Certain areas, we are giving 30 to 50% returns. This is regardless of the bumpy road, which we call ease of doing business, that somebody has to drive. So, when I look at investors, the investors who have cracked the code of how to work in India are seeing 30 to 50% returns. I can name quite a few companies.
Please do.
I have Rothschild who's told me this. I have Carlyle who has told me this. I have State Street who has told me that. I have, many other industries, auto industries are telling me that. So we are giving returns, Sumita.
Absolutely.
Despite the bumpy road of ease of doing business. What our government is doing, infrastructure, whether it is roads, whether it is digital, whether it is making compliances digital, whether it is, Jan Vishwas bill trying to reduce the decriminalize, also looking at the reduction of compliances. My team tells me 40,000+ compliances have been reduced. And you're digitizing it, your room for error is less. So yes, our work towards ease of doing business is a journey. Over the last, 10 years, you will see from Make in India to, Digital India, to the PLIs, the DLIs incentives, to the aspirational districts and counties, to now the semiconductor mission, to now drive towards data centers. I mean, our country is getting ready, and every year we have been filling a bump, we've been fixing our ease of doing business. We are a democratic country.
Absolutely.
Everybody has a view. It's not like, we are a communist country and somebody says and everybody, does the same thing. So we have to get our whole country, our states, our government, our industry, our academicians aligned. And that's a slow and steady win that I put my, hat on.
Right. So ease of doing business is definitely that government is going to look at. Decriminalization of laws further is also what the government is going to look at. But ma'am, what is it that we can expect in the near future in terms of how the government is going to sort of boost investor confidence, boost the kind of investments that global companies are looking at, when it comes to destinations where they want to invest into, in comparison to our other competing geographies?
Yes. So just a quick, baselining. Over the last 10 years, the last 5 years, on an average, 6% of the world FDI came into India. The prior 5 years, 3% of the world FDI came into India. So you can see this jump. While this, some of the other countries I'm seeing, and I'm not going to name names, but one of the leading FDI recipients, FDI percentage has gone down, and we are seeing a trend. It's a slow down, but it's a trend going down. So definitely we are doing something right. An interesting thing that I want to share with you, just today I was doing a review with my team. US, Japan, Germany are definitely top FDI, investors into India. Other countries also, France, Italy, Canada, Taiwan. But may I tell you, these are the head countries, I like to say, because, their GDP is huge. May I tell you, countries like Uganda, countries like Philippines, countries like Poland, who are not known as the leading head investors, the tail investors are also investing into India.
Okay.
Why? Because they are giving the returns. So when the return is there, everybody is willing to drive this bumpy road, but our government is very conscious and careful. We are trying to make that road also not bumpy. So ease of doing business, like I said, is a journey from digitization, from policy reduction, compliance simplification, automation, looking towards innovation, looking at tax simplification, labor laws. Like I said, the trinity I view again. For industry driving growth, you need resources, capital and labor. You need environment. Environment, like I said, the whole bunch of things that I just rattled off, including, I really like this Jan Vishwas bill.
Yes.
An opportunity, because if you have very complicated number of compliances to apply, registrations to do, centralizing, creating a national minimum wage, giving so it's what I love about this whole labor laws, into 4 codes and just, it is looking at the industry and it's also looking at the employee.
Absolutely. More importantly, the employee.
Flexibility for me,
yes.
Stability for me, a better planning for me. All of this, what will it do? I'll be invested in your work.
Absolutely.
I'll do a better quality work.
Ma'am, but you spoke about FDI,
Yes.
and you're the woman behind this mission of driving FDI into the country. I have to expand a bit more on that. What are the targets that you've set for yourself and your team in the coming few months when it comes to driving FDI into India?
Absolutely. So, if you look at India's last, I would say, 21 years of journey, last 7 years, average FDI into our country is 81 billion. Prior to that, it was something like a 60, 40, 20, so it gradually went up. And I have actually been able to map that during those times, what were the changes, policy changes, benefits, incentives. So I have that. So I know 20 grew into 40, grew into 60, grew into 80. What my plan for the next 7 years is, if I don't do anything, don't shoot on my foot and make everything, go in the right direction, our country will see an average of 100 billion FDI in the next 7 years.
But we are also seeing policy changes that are happening in countries. For example, the United States is telling its own companies to build in America. You do have the same format and formula being employed in China since past many years. India is also looking at a Make in India initiative, and that is the need of the hour. How does that bring about any change in your plans vis-a-vis getting FDI into the country? Are you looking at diversifying then into certain geographies, and which geographies which will be governments?
Perfect. Yes, my focus is manufacturing. We are a consumer-driven GDP country. Consumption is a primary contributor. Service is another big thing when you look at trade.
Right.
Oh, definitely I'm looking at manufacturing. So what am I doing? I focused on 9 sectors. We call it priority 9. 9 sectors that are job generators and FDI attractors. So the 9 sectors that I've chosen, 65% of the world FDI goes into these sectors. And I've chosen 11 countries, 65% FDI goes out from these. And they definitely don't have Uganda, Philippines, and Poland. But I'm receiving money with respect. Whoever is coming, I'm supporting them.
Okay.
So I call that a reactive support. But I'm proactively going after these 9 sectors and these 11 countries. And I'm doing it in a very structured manner. I look at every sector. I look at India's value chain. What is India contributing? Where are we good? Where are we not so good? Who is good? Which company is good? Which country is good? Who do I go after? What is it that India will offer? What is the cost model? What is the business model? When they come to see the return of investment, I'm doing it like a business.
Right. As it should be.
As it should be. So I'm not selling them just environment. I'm selling them an economics business model out of my country.
Well, that's Invest India's CEO Nivruti Rai speaking about driving investments into the country, even as there is geopolitical turmoil that we are currently seeing in the world. But